Good morning. Today we are starting our next unit. We are going to be working on data analysis. So when we're given data, how can we use that? How can we interpret it? What can we learn from it? We're starting off today with the mean, median, and mode. Then we're going to go into different types of graphs. Some of the graphs we've used before, and then we're going to get into more challenging graphs that we don't know, that we haven't seen before, learning how to interpret them. So, mean, median, and mode. So far this season, your team has played 9 basketball games, scoring 27, 23, 22, 32, 22, 15, 25, 28, and 22 points. Your coach asks you to predict how many points your team will score in your 10th game. How might we do this? We're going to look at the data to see if we can make a prediction in that using mean, median, or mode. So, in order to use mean, median, and mode, we need to know what they mean. If I say what is the mean of a data group, who remembers what the mean is? Lila.
Add all of them up and then divide by the number of numbers.
Yeah, the mean is the average. That's when we add them all up and we divide by how many there were. So you add up all of your data entries, and then if there were 9 data points, then you divide it by 9. What does it mean to say median? Adeline?
You put them in order and find the middle number, and if there's 2, then you add them and you divide by 2.
Perfect. So the median is the middle. A lot of times kids will look at, well, what's the middle of my data points? And they'll go between the points and say, oh, 22 is my middle. Is that actually the median of those points? Charlie, you shook your head no. What did I forget to do?
You gotta put them in order.
I have to put them in order first, right? They have to be in order, and you find the middle number going in order. So that's always the first step I do when I get mean, median, and mode questions. I'll put them all in order so I don't forget to do that. That is the most common mistake people make. And like Adeline said, if we have an even number of data, we're going to have 2 numbers in the middle. The median cannot be 2 numbers. So you need to find the mean of those 2 numbers. You add those 2 numbers together and divide it by 2. So our median can only be 1 number. What is the mode, Emma?
It's like the numbers of your most.
Yeah, mode, most. So it's the numbers that you see the most of. Can we have more than 1 mode? Yes, I see people shaking their head. Yes, you can have more than 1 mode. If we have 3 5s and 3 10s, you can put both of them as your mode. Can we have no mode? Yeah. If they're all individual, they're all just seen one time, they're all the same amount that we see. So you would just put no mode. So let's write down some definitions of these. Our mean is the average of a data set. How to find it? Like we just talked about, you add all the numbers together and divide by how many numbers there are. So if we add all of those numbers up together for our basketball scores, what is the total of basketball scores? So add all 9 of those numbers up, 27 plus 23 plus 22 plus 32 plus 22 plus 15 plus 25 plus 28 and plus 22. So are we going to want to use our calculator? Most definitely. That's a lot of numbers to be added together. When we add all of those numbers up, what did you get, Lila?
216.
216. So adding them all together is 216, but that is not our average, right? Our numbers were in the 20s. We don't want 216. What do I have to do, Maddie?
Divided by 9.
Divide by 9 because there were 9 scores that I added together. What is 216 divided by 9? Sarah?
24.
24. So my mean for my basketball scores is 24. That is the average number. Now our median, the definition is the middle number of a data set. How to find it? We put the numbers in order. From least to greatest. And then find the middle number. So start writing out your numbers. What is the median of your basketball scores? So you're going to write all 9 numbers in order to find out what that middle number is. So look up top. We had 27, 23, 22, 32, 22. So you're going to put them all in order. What number am I going to start with? Emma? 15. Okay, that was the smallest number. I always cross my numbers off as I write them to make sure I'm not missing a number. And I usually do it right above my list of numbers, which is hard on the screen here because it's already off the screen. But I would have 15, then 22, 22, 22, 23, 25, 27, 28, and 32. Then what I do is I always go back and I double check because I've had times where I have missed a number. So I go back and I count. Do I have the correct number of numbers? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I remember from up here, I have 9 numbers. That is my check to make sure I didn't skip a number or I didn't put a number twice. It happens easily. Always just do that quick double check. Did I put all of my numbers? So I have my numbers in order. Now I'm going to find out which one is in the middle. So I go from the left and the right and I cross off. Left, right, I cross off. Left, right, I cross off. Left, right, I cross off. Because 9 is an odd number, there is going to be just one number in the middle. So I know my middle, my median, is 23. Our last definition we have to write is the mode. The mode, move up just a little bit. The mode is the number found the most often. Mode means most. The number found most often in the data, right? In the numbers you're given. How to find it? Find how many times a number is listed in the data. The mode is the one listed the most. So I didn't scroll up, even though it's a little bit harder to read the definition down low. I didn't scroll up because I wanted my number list still on there. So the mode is the number found the most often. How we find it is you find how many times the number is listed in the data. The mode is listed the most. So looking at our data that we put in order for our median, which one do we see the most of? Maddie? 22. Now, things to keep in mind that we talked about at the beginning. The median can only be, can only be one number. So you might want to put a little note on there. It can only be one number. The mode can be more than one number or no numbers. So, little notes to keep in mind. Median can only be one. The mode, you can have multiple modes or no mode. Would we put 0 for our mode? Why not?
Then it could be if 0 was listed the most and the next one.
Yeah, because you might think 0 was one of our data entries. Okay, sometimes you will put 0 for a data. We don't want to put that as the mode if there's no zeros listed. They didn't score 0 in any of their basketball games. So we wouldn't want to put 0 for that. You would put no mode. Okay, you don't put any numbers, you just say no mode if they're all listed the same amount of times. Any questions on those definitions? Mean, median, and mode. All right. What do you think, looking at that mean, median, and mode, which one would be the best method to use? Which one do you think you should use the most often? What do you think, Lila?
The mean.
Lila says the mean is really important. We should use the mean. Sometimes, though, it really depends on what the question is that's being asked. Because if the question is, what is the score that the team had the most often, the mean's not going to help us with that, right? We need to actually think about it and think about what the question is asking. So do you think you should always use the same method when using past data to make a prediction? No. It depends on what prediction you are making. So it really depends on that prediction, or what you're being asked to do. So look back at our original question. Your coach asked you to predict how many points your team will score in the 10th game. We know our average score is 24. We know our median score was 23, and our mode was 22. Who could make a prediction based on that? What do you think, Emma?
25.
Why would you think 25?
Because the 10th game is high percentage for another point. So when you from the 22, it would go to 23, 24, 16.
That's only when we put our numbers in order. If we look at their games, their first game they scored 27. Their second game they scored 23. Their third game they scored 22. Fourth game they scored 32 points. But the fifth game they scored only 22. So you can't really say, well, it's going in order, because we really don't know that. Lila?
I'd say 24 to 60 average.
The average number that we're giving is 24, so they're going to score 24. It would be a safe guess to say around that 24 mark. What would you think, Adeline?
Like, probably one something in the 20s.
But you gotta pick one. You can't say somewhere in the 20s.
Maybe like around 22.
Why would you think 22?
Because they scored that a lot.
Yeah. They kind of seem to end up scoring 22 in a lot of their games. So maybe they're going to score 22 again. Those are fair guesses. I would say, well, if our average is 24, I would probably guess 24, because that's kind of around where they're scoring. Is it a perfect prediction? No, because their numbers are all over. They might score 36 this time. We really don't know, but it would be safe to guess that they would score 24. All right, our next one is what Adeline already pointed out for us about if we have an even number of data. We have two numbers in our median. So it says find the median of 8, 13, 7, 16, 18, and 9. So Gemma, we're at the very bottom of the first page. So what is my first step going to be, Gemma? What did you do first?
Put them in order.
Put them in order. So our first number is 7. Then we have 8, then 9, 13, 16, and 18. Now what do we do? Emma?
You cross them off to see what the point is.
Cross them off, left and right, left and right. Uh-oh, if I cross off my left and right, I get none, so I have two numbers. Is my median 9 and 13? What do I do, Nolan?
You add them together and divide by 2.
I add them together. 9 plus 13 is 22. And then because there were two numbers, I'm going to divide that by 2. What is 22 divided by 2, Nolan? 11. So it's in between, and we can see 11 falls in between 9 and 13. So that median that you get should always be in between those two numbers. If you had two numbers in the middle, your median's going to be in between those two numbers. Any questions on that? All right, let's look at our next page. Here it says calculate the mean, median, and mode for each set of data. What is my first step going to be? Liam?
Put the numbers in order.
Put the numbers in order. That's always the first thing you do. 40 is my smallest number, and 42, and 64, 78, another 78, a 90, and a 112. I like to go back and double check. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers on top. I rewrote it and got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers on the bottom. I didn't miss any, I didn't write any too many times. So I know there are 7 numbers there. So that's the first thing I do. To find the mean, what do I need to do with all of those numbers, Kylie?
Add them all up.
Add them all up. Who knows what all of those numbers add up to be, Kylie?
504.
504. Is that my mean? Now, what do I have to do, Sophie? I counted up, there were 7 numbers, so I need to divide it by 7. What is 504 divided by 7? Emma? 72. So my mean is 72. I have so many numbers written there, I like to circle my answer so I can see right away that the mean is 72. Now to find my mean, what do I do?
Are the units
I'm sorry, what?
units?
Yeah, I meant to say median. To find the median, what do I do? Adeline.
You're gonna see which number or numbers are in the middle.
Yeah. So to find the numbers in the middle, I look at the left and the right. Left, right, left, right. Ooh, I only have one number in the middle. That makes my median easy to find. What is my mode? Sophie? How do you know my mode is 78? 78 appears the most. That is the only one that we see 2 times. So my median and my mode sometimes might be the same number. You could even have a problem where your mean, median, and mode are all the same number. You never know. It all depends on the other numbers in your data. Any questions on today? All right, so the top 4 are all basically, you do the same thing, find that mean, median, and mode. When we look down at the bottom here, we're doing the same thing. They just don't have all the data listed out the same way. Here, our data is listed in the column. Same concept. It just looks different. So you need to be able to read that table, find the data, put them in order, and then you find your mean, median, and mode the same way. Any questions?
Bless you.
All right, so when you finish, if you want to come up and check with me to see if you were doing it the right way, if you're finding that mean, median, and mode correctly, you can come up and check. Remember, we have Khan Academy due on Thursday. Packet number 10 due next week, Tuesday. And you have your Stations of the Cross to be practicing. So let's get our math done today. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.